From anxiety to awakening. One man's journey through faith and the inner self. Have you ever felt trapped inside your own mind? Anxiety pulsing in your chest, sleep eluding you, meaning slipping away? What if the answer is not another distraction, but a deeper journey into your heart, into your soul, to the one who knows you more than you know yourself? In this story, we follow Adam, a young man who felt lost in the noise of his everyday life, until one dawn changed everything. He discovered that the nafs, the ego, the qalb, the heart, and the ruh, the spirit, are not just words, they're keys. And when unlocked, they reveal the path to peace. Watch the full story and discover how the human psyche and Islamic spirituality meet in a healing embrace. He was called Adam, a quiet young man living on the outskirts of a bustling city, his days marked by routine, his nights by restless thoughts. From the outside, he seemed ordinary. He worked in a modest office job, walking the same route each morning, greeting the same faces, sifting through the same emails. But inside, a storm was brewing. The human psyche, complex and often inscrutable, was placing demands on him he could neither name nor tame. Adam's anxiety had begun as a whisper, a fluttering in his chest when he boarded the metro, a sudden rush of heat when he sat in a meeting, the sensation of being seen even when he felt invisible. Nights were worse. He'd wake in the dark, the stars outside his window indifferent, his heart pounding as if he had run a race. He couldn't understand where it came from. He couldn't rest. His sleep became fractured, his mood brittle, his sense of self crumbling. And so he wandered, sometimes in the city's park, sometimes along the banks of the river that caught the moonlight. He looked for relief. He tried distraction, social media, movies, noisy gatherings, but nothing helped. If anything, the emptiness widened. He felt disconnected from others and even from himself. He felt as though he were watching his life from underwater, distant and muffled. Then one evening, when the sky was a deep violet and the prayer call from the minaret echoed across the rooftops, he felt something stir. He remembered his childhood, when his grandmother would recite verses of the Quran at dawn, when the scent of incense mingled with the hush of dawn prayer. He remembered the word qalb, the heart, as more than an organ. He vaguely recalled that in the teachings of the past, the heart was a seat of knowing, of surrender, of transformation. Curious, he picked up a book on Islamic psychology. He read of the concept of nafs, the self, the psyche, the impulses and desires that sway us. Wikipedia +1 he read of qalb, the heart, and ruh, the spirit, faculties beyond the material. IJFMR he learned that in classical Islamic thought, the journey of the soul involves purification, tazkiyat al-nafs, and discipline, riadat al-nafs. Journals.publishing.umich.edu +1, and he was struck by modern studies showing that spiritual practices rooted in Islam can support mental well-being. Yaqeen Institute for Islamic Research +1. Something shifted in Adam that night. He resolved to try a different path, not merely distraction, but inner work. He woke before dawn the next morning. He performed his ablutions slowly, attending to each movement as though it might mean something more than routine. He stood in prayer and felt his body stretch, his breath deepen. It was awkward at first. His mind drifted to email, to errands, to the unfinished laundry. But he let the thoughts pass, returning his attention to the petition in his heart. Over the days, as he committed to the morning prayer, the midday quiet, the evening reflection, he noticed subtle changes. The fluttering in his chest receded. His sleep, though not perfect, deepened. He found a stillness when the city around him felt frenetic. He discovered that his heart could be calm even when his mind raced. He realized that although he could not control every external event, he could discipline the internal terrain of his self. Yet the journey wasn't linear. A few weeks later, a crisis arose. At work, a large error was discovered under his supervision. The manager berated him publicly, colleagues whispered. Adam's shame rose like wildfire. He felt worthless. The nafs whispered, "You've failed. You're incompetent. You might as well give up." His chest tightened, his throat constricted. He considered quitting, disappearing into anonymity. He thought, what am I doing all this for? In that moment of darkness, he remembered what he had read, that in Islamic psychological tradition, the purification of the heart is not about being free of struggle, but about facing the struggle and turning it toward God. PMC +1, he remembered the prophets, peace be upon him, life, how he responded to trial, how he sought refuge in prayer, how he remembered Allah when the burden was greatest. So instead of hiding, Adam stayed. He went to his manager, acknowledged the mistake, took responsibility, and proposed a plan for correction. It was humbling. His colleagues watched. Some nodded in respect, others whispered. He felt vulnerable, exposed. But he also felt alive. The heart inside him, qalb, felt raw, open. His nafs still churned, but now he recognized it. He said a quiet prayer in the restroom. "O Allah, forgive me, guide me, strengthen me." That night, sleep came with less turmoil. In his dreams, he saw himself walking down a long corridor lined with doors. Each door bore a name: fear, doubt, anger, shame, hope. He reached out and opened the door marked anger. Inside was darkness. He entered anyway and saw a flickering light ahead. As he walked, the shadows resolved into forms. Faces of those he had wronged, moments he regretted, promises broken. At the corridor's end was a small window through which dawn light crept. He stepped through and found himself by a river under sunrise. The water reflected his face. He felt clean. He felt free. When he awoke, the anxiety had not disappeared completely, but the fear that it would engulf him forever had diminished. He realized something fundamental. The human psyche, when untended, is like a garden left to weeds. But when we turn to the source, when we attend to the heart, the qalb, with truth and surrender, then inner renewal begins. Research indicates that when spiritual practices embedded in the Islamic tradition are engaged, aspects of mental well-being improve. For example, a systematic review found a positive connection between Sufi spirituality and reduced anxiety and depression. Taylor and Francis online. From that dawn onward, Adam's world changed. He still walked the same city streets. He still handled emails and deadlines. But inside, he carried a different presence. One morning on his commute, he noticed a homeless man by the station. The man's eyes were heavy, his posture slouched. Where before Adam might have passed by, distracted, he stopped. He offered the man water and a kind word. The man thanked him, and Adam felt a warmth in his chest he had not felt in months. He reflected, true transformation doesn't only rescue us from ourselves, it moves us outward to others. In his apartment that evening, Adam opened his book again and read about character development in the classical Islamic tradition. The notion that virtues like patience, humility, gratitude are not simply add-ons to life, but the very means of healing the heart. Journals.publishing.umich.edu +1, he realized that the heart's healing begins with acknowledging the divine, the purpose of life, the relationship between creator and creation. The psychological research calls this a holistic approach to human beings, body, mind, spirit. PMC. Some months passed. Adam's crisis at work resolved. The error was corrected, and though the manager's view of him remained cautious, his colleagues respected his integrity. But more importantly, Adam's inner world had changed. He felt connected to his faith, to the city, to the people around him. His anxiety still came at times, a wave, but he no longer panicked. He sat with it, prayed through it, remembered that the nafs will urge but the qalb can steer, that the spirit ruh can anchor. One evening, after Isha prayer, he sat by the river's edge. The moon was a silver crescent. He reflected on the outward calm he felt now, but also on the path still ahead. Because the Islamic model of human psychology, as the papers show, is not about arriving at perfection, but journeying toward meaning, toward servitude, toward flourishing. One article noted that well-being in the Islamic paradigm is different from Western models. It's about submission and obedience to God, about cognitions shaped by belief and value. ResearchGate. Adam felt a sudden surge of purpose. He resolved to share his journey. He reached out to a friend and said, If you ever feel lost like I did, come with me to morning prayer." The friend hesitated but agreed. He invited his colleagues to join a short reflection after work. Just 15 minutes to talk, to share, to sit quietly in presence of God. Some came, some didn't. But for those who did, something stirred. Then came a night he dreamed again. This time the corridor was wider, the doors taller. He opened shame. Inside, the shadows formed into trenches of regret. He stepped through bravely, remembering the words of the scholars. The heart is a battleground. Purification is not easy, but it is necessary. He entered the hope door and found light. When he woke, he felt a surge of gratitude. As modern research shows, integrating spiritual practices and positive psychology in Muslim communities fosters stronger mental well-being, gratitude, community, meaning. Springer link. Slowly, Adam started volunteering in his community. He helped young people who felt lost. He spoke about the concept of nafs and qalb, about noticing desires and distractions, about returning to God. He used simple language, sharing his own story, never presenting himself as healed, only as walking. And in doing so, he found himself healed further. The heart indeed opens through service. One afternoon, his former manager challenged him. "Why do you act differently now? You seem calmer, less reactive, but more engaged." Adam smiled quietly and said, "I found a reason to act. I found a source inside that guides me." The manager nodded, and something passed between them. Respect, curiosity, maybe envy. The seasons changed, the city lights shifted, but inside Adam, there was abiding peace. Not perfect, but real. Not free of pain, but free of meaninglessness. He had learned that the psyche, the human self, is a landscape shaped by inner orientation. The Islamic model teaches that the heart must turn toward God, that the self must be disciplined, that the spirit is the anchor. The research supports that spiritual-based interventions grounded in Islam help in mental health and well-being. PMC. And then came the ultimate test. One evening as he walked home, he found a letter in his mailbox. It was from an old friend, someone he had drifted away from in his anxious youth. The friend confessed that he had been in despair, thinking his life had no value. He asked for a meeting. Adam agreed. They met in a small cafe. The friend looked broken. He told Adam, "I feel nothing matters. I'm empty." Adam listened. He thought of his own journey, the nights, the prayers, the strange corridor in dreams, the gradual hinge of hope. He offered no lecture. He offered a quiet presence. He prayed with him, gently and sincerely, for forgiveness, for guidance. They talked about nafs and qalb, about the heart's restlessness, about submission to the one who holds all. He said, "We are more than our fears. We are created to worship, to be in relationship, to seek goodness." The friend's eyes filled with tears. He clasped Adam's hand. "Teach me how you found this," he said. And in that moment, Adam realized he was no longer alone. His path had become a bridge. His healing had become hope for someone else. Under the stars that night, Adam felt delicately whole. He thought about the research again, the role of Islamic spiritual practices in emotional and mental well-being, the integration of psychology and faith, the importance of character development. He realized that his story was not unique, but the truth of it was. Every human heart longs for meaning. Every soul trembles under burden. Every self fights for peace. And the message he had discovered was simple yet profound. Return to your Creator, discipline the self, purify the heart, serve others, and you will find that the psyche settles, the spirit lifts, the heart smiles. The city continued its endless hum around him. People walked, cars honked, lights flickered. But inside, Adam walked in a different rhythm. He paused at the river, said a silent dua, supplication, felt the moon's reflection in the water, and smiled. Not because life was perfect, but because he was no longer lost. And so it is for every person reading these words. The storm inside you may be fierce. The journey may be hard, but there is a road, and that road leads inward and upward. The heart must open, the self must submit, the spirit must anchor. The human psyche, when aligned with the divine, becomes not a burden, but a vessel of light. In that quiet moment by the river, under the silver moon, Adam whispered to his heart, "O Allah, accept me, guide me, use me." And he went home, not to oblivion, but to awaken. If this story stirred something in you, curiosity, hope, maybe a longing for change, then don't stop here. Subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss our next story where faith meets psychology and transformation blooms. Comment below, what part of this story touched you? Maybe you feel stuck. Maybe you feel restless. Write one word. We'll read them all and pick one person in the next video to send a free guided reflection audio. And share this video with a friend who might be searching, too. Let's walk this journey together, because healing begins when we don't walk alone.